Voltron! Okay, sorry. Hey guys, Rascal here, and welcome to another Rascal Reviews. And today I'll be reviewing my absolute favorite anime series of all time, Voltron Legendary Defender. Yeah, it feels we're covering this now, doesn't it? Now that all of the drama and stuff is gone, and it's now been 7 years since the show first came on, I'm still in shock. It's almost a decade old, and it feels like it still just went off last week. It's amazing. And we've covered this show about a couple times on Paul's Animation. We gave it a send-off when it had its final season, and we covered how it changed animation in 3 parts. And I'm not going to go into all the drama and stuff about Voltron. I really don't want to. If you want a really quick rundown, I'll get to it. But, first off, again, Voltron is my favorite series. And I didn't expect it to be. My first favorite anime series ever was Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because it's one of the greatest series ever made in animation. No matter if it's here, or Japan, or Germany, it is a perfect animated series. Now, when I saw Voltron, my mom had heard of it because it came out in the 80s. I hadn't. I just knew the references. That's about it. So one day I actually decided to watch the pilot movie that they had on Netflix, and I ended up really loving it. I really did. And I got to about the 3 episodes in before my mom saw a short part of it and actually was interested in seeing the rest. So I started over with her, and we've been watching every season since, all the way up to the final season. And each time it was coming back, we would rewatch whatever season already aired to do a recap, and then the next season, and then eventually at one point we just rewatched the entire series. I think now we've rewatched the series about 8 times. 8 or 9 times now. So that tells you how much I really love this series. I never get tired of it. And the reason why, unfortunately, people don't talk about it now, and I'll quickly mention, is because there was a lot of drama in the fandom. And when it got to the 7th and 8th seasons, having to do with Shiro, and DreamWorks had brought up his orientation out way too soon, and it seemed like they weren't planning on telling it and being a big deal. You'll find out once you watch it, but DreamWorks and Netflix decided to jump forward and tell everybody, and then it made it seem like the show was one thing, and it really wasn't. So it made it look like the writers tricked a lot of people into watching the show, but we now know that did not happen. DreamWorks did not want to take the fall, and they let the writers did, and they got punished for it, unfortunately. And unfortunately, this affected the final season as well, because originally it was supposed to have 9 seasons. So for ones who felt like season 8 felt rushed, it was. They had to quickly get it off the air. They made up an ending off the bat. They even added an extra epilogue that wasn't even there. And originally it was going to be a 9th season. They were going to have Voltron Force on there, like from the original show. Allura would have had a much different ending, and I think Voltron would have had a different ending too, because of the backlash from so many people, that they decided, okay, let's just end it here, make a new ending, get it out as fast as possible. Which is unfortunate, because I would love to see a 9th season. And when that happened, it also affected the popularity of the show. It no longer trended with people. They kind of put it down. And that happened for 2 years. And anytime I would go to search for it, all I saw was negative stuff. And I just got tired of it. I loved the show as it was. I didn't really find much wrong. I wish the finale was ended a little differently, but I really didn't have a problem with the show. I loved it. I had no problem. I think it was a groundbreaking series, and it had a lot of great messages, a lot of great lessons, fantastic animation. Everything was great about it. So now, going forward, a few years later after it's over, now it seems like it actually died down. Now more people are actually defending Voltron, because some people were actually not keen on watching it because of all the crap they heard. And then people watching are like, why do people put down the show? Why they put it down? It's fantastic. And yeah, that happens with a lot of series, and Voltron is just one of those series. And now that it looks like it's finally gone, the malice for no reason at all, overreacting on an ending you just didn't care for and which should have been done better, is finally over. I really want to cover this show. Now, I can't go on and on forever. This will be an hour-long video, and nobody wants to see that. So I'm going to keep it as condensed as I can, and just keep it in my regular time slot. Maybe go a little longer, but I really want to get this to the world because of how much I love Voltron. Voltron is about 6 pilots who are at the Galaxy Garrison. And for this version, all of the pilots are teenagers, aside from Shiro. And they come across a blue lion. It's supposed to be one of 5 lions. I'm sorry, I said 6. 5 lions. And the lions come together and form Voltron. And the journey is them going from these rookie pilots from Earth to becoming the defenders of the universe and saving the universe from Zarkon, who's a 10,000-year-old emperor who's somehow still alive. You'll find out how, and saving the world, saving the universe from him, and one day going back home, which they do. Now, I really loved this show. It was really an embodiment of what I love about science fiction shows, superhero shows, comedy shows, anime and anime-esque shows. It had everything. Now, true, it did have some issues when it went a little further. The animation got a little different. I didn't like some things they chose to do. I thought some things would be better. But I wasn't pissed so much where I would want the show canceled or threatening anybody. I never did that. It was just like, oh, kind of wish they did something else. That was it. And I don't want to spoil everything and anything because this is an experience you have to have. The show is just so much fun. It's engaging, has a lot of complexity, lots of character growth and development, despite what people say. Just about everybody here has character development up to the end for a majority of them. There's a lot of creativity going into the designs of the aliens, adding in new things that didn't feel like they didn't fit with Voltron, like coming up with Zarkon and Hagar's backstories along Lotor's, coming up with the Blade of Marmora and actually having some good Galra in the mix. The concepts and ideas for the aliens. And one thing I always loved about it is that all the designs look different from each other. No matter how weird it looked, everyone and everything looked different from each other. And even a point where if you look at the Galra they have without their helmets and things, all the Galra look different from each other. No 2 Galra look the same, not even in the crowds, the backgrounds, the mains, the size, Lotor's generals. Nobody looks the same in here. Even if you see them for just 1 second, they took the time to make every single Galra different. Just like they take time to make all the Paladins look different. And for the Paladins, you have Shiro, Keith, Lance, Hunk, my favorite, and Pidge. They meet Allura, who's the Princess of Altea, who's, unfortunately, Altea's not here anymore in this version, and her, I guess you could say her guardian, Karan. And the story really gets interesting as it unfolds, and you find out more things about the Galra and Allura and her father, and how this goes from being not just about defending the universe, but saving everybody. And they really had some pretty big concepts in here. Like, towards the end, they started getting really existential, and a lot of people thought it was weird, but it seemed they were really trying to have people think about what's going on inside their hearts and their minds and their spirit, how they interact with other people, how everyone's connected. They did some really big existential dialogue in the show towards the end, and it was really huge. I mean, these were things that were not in kids shows. And please be in mind, this was supposed to be a kids show, but really, all ages loved it. It wasn't just for kids or teens. All ages loved it. And I can't really pick a favorite episode because there's too many great ones. And they would all actually have, like, the old shows where they would have a comedy episode when they would have in the middle of an action season, one comedy episode before it gets to the dark stuff, and they had several of those, like Space Mall, Monsters and Mana, The Voltron Show, The Feud. They were really great and hilarious episodes that helped you get prepared for what was coming at the end of the season. Now, the show had 8 seasons, but it looks like they split a lot of them in half, so it was really only 4 seasons. If you put them all together, it really amounts to only 4. And for some reason, Netflix wanted to keep splitting them up. And it's called them seasons when most of them were less than 10 episodes or just 10 episodes. Which was really, really weird. And I wanted to cover this because, of course, it's superhero month. And I did look it up. They are considered superheroes, especially the original 80s show. And one of the things I really like is that, unlike some other shows that put down the original and said it wasn't good, we made it better, like Netflix Cowboy Bebop, they didn't have this ego trip where we made the show way better than the original. If you like that, you were an idiot. This is the real thing. They didn't do that. They poked fun at it, which we poked fun at it, and it was great because I watched the whole 80s show and I laughed every single day, every time I watched it, to a point where I was out of breath and I had to take a break or else I'd probably just be dehydrated. It was that hilarious, but in a fun way. At least they were still saving the universe. Here, they just poked fun at it. They even had Pidge dress up as their old character and make the weird noises and stuff and to get free things, and I thought it was great. And like I said, I don't want to bring up every single thing and have it every single season because that will take too long. It will go on really long than it needs to, and it will spoil a lot of the experience for you. So I will end this by saying what Voltron means to me. Voltron meant a lot to me when it was on, and it actually kind of hurt when it was gone. Not because of the things that were said in the fandom and stuff at the time, but because it meant a lot to me. It was a show that really had impacted me. It wasn't a show that had impacted me that much since Avatar. And Avatar was made in the 2000s. Voltron didn't come out until 2016. Didn't go off until 2019. And it means a lot to me because I love that it was the embodiment of what shows that I want to tell should be and could be. It had complexity, it had development, it had growth, it had all sorts of inclusions, it had great writing, great comedy, fantastic animation, a great overarching story, high stakes, fantastic music. I love the music, especially the intro. It just sounds incredibly epic. And this is what I really want from more shows, whether it be reboots or standalones, because they kind of brought back action cartoons, that and Troll Hunters. And this is kind of how I want my shows to be in my movies when I make them and release them on theaters or streaming or on TV. I want people to see this and leave away with something that they've learned something, that they feel different, that they felt something, that they've gained a lot of experience or inspiration or touched them when they finish it. And that's pretty much what Voltron did for me. And I still love this show 7 years later. I still love making casts about it. I still love talking about it. I still love using footage. I'll never stop loving Voltron. And I love all of the voice actors that are involved. And the writers, even though they were fired, I'm glad that they were starting working on stuff like Into the Spider-Verse and the Mitchell vs. Machines and other things where their talents can be put to even greater use. And I'm very happy for that. And that's why I really wanted to cover Voltron. It is one of the best shows Netflix has had. One of the best shows DreamWorks has ever had. It has flaws. Every show has flaws. And yes, some did happen towards the end. And I do wish the finale was a little different. But that doesn't change the fact it's still my favorite show, favorite animated series of all time. Now, with that being said, if you have seen Voltron, tell me your experience with watching it below. Did you just really, really love it as much as me? I know Love Struckly does, and so does Vision. We're like the three biggest Voltron fans in the fandom, or at least in the Rascal family. Or did you not care for it? Did you like it and then start to hate it? You can explain why, and I'm totally fine with it. Everyone goes through it differently. And if you have not seen it at all, I recommend just going there. They have all 8 seasons available, but I don't know if they're going to be taking it off because they haven't released it on DVD, but they stopped after season 6. 7 and 8 hadn't been released because people didn't have vocally said they didn't want 7 and 8 because they don't remind of the end, which was a pretty dumb idea. But I hope that they get bold enough to release the season so I can collect the full series. But you can buy it 1 through 6 on DVD, and you can watch the whole series on YouTube. We have to pay for it, or you can go through Netflix. And that's pretty much what I got to say about it. Tell me any sort of experience, like I said, you had in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.